Matt looks up in shock as another explosion rips the track above him, and another train falls off the streets. Matt turns quickly, leaping out of the way, pushing an old woman out of danger in the process. He turns back to the destruction behind him, and even with all of that noise, he can hear someone's heartbeat. He rushes back inside, finding someone trapped in the train cars, and Daredevil helps get the man to safety. But the crash shifts, and a secondary explosion rips through everything, debris beginning to fall, pinning Matt to the concrete, crushing his ribs. But you're probably wondering how Daredevil got here. Daredevil has gone through the ringer more so than usual. He killed a man, ended up in prison, became bonded with a symbiote, allowed Elektra to become the new Daredevil, came back to being Daredevil alongside her, then defeated the villains he had discovered were orchestrating everything. Kingpin realized in this time that Daredevil had removed his memory of Daredevil's true identity, and then took over New York as the new mayor, making being a superhero a crime. After stopping that, Daredevil decided to take up Elektra's offer. The only reason that she was showing him that she could be a good guy. Because he needed to become the king of the fist, with her as his queen, so they can stop the hand. And now we begin that story. This is Comicstorian. I make audio dramas of your favorite comic books so you know what's going on in the world of comics, so you know what to add to your collection. And today we're going to be covering Daredevil, the 2022 run, issues 1 through 3. If you enjoy this type of content, look for us on Spotify or our sister channel, Comicstorian Full Story. Or you can support us directly on Patreon. Let's get into it. And today we're going to be covering Daredevil, the 2022 run, issues 1 and 2 to kick off our story. The man walks the streets of New York City. He doesn't know why he does it anymore. He can't see the impact the actions have, but he has no choice. It is his power. He is a servant of God, and he drops the marble, and it bounces along the sidewalk, tripping a man, sending his newspaper into the air. The newspaper covers the eyes of a biker who doesn't see the car, which slams into him. But it saves the life of a small child that is wandering into the street, his mother clutching him, crying that he is safe. The man can't see what the future holds for the young boy, but he knew he had to do it. The only thing that he can see is the bright light that is Matt Murdock, Daredevil. Matt leans against the car down on the docks, and he looks at Butch Fisk, pretending that he is able to see, pretending that he is his brother Mike. He explains that it was Matt that was killed by Wilson Fisk. "Yeah, I'm really sorry, Mike, I really am. But I'm glad it wasn't you that died," Butch says, believing that Mike died at the hands of his father. Matt nods, asking if Butch knows where Fisk is. But Butch shakes his head, explaining that his father disappeared and that he is now going to step into the shoes as the new kingpin of New York. "I'm going to do better. No more killing. I don't want to be my father. I want to run the city with fairness, with compassion," Butch explains, and Matt nods. "You better," he whispers softly, and he turns to Butch, who is shocked. "Let me make it clear. If you hurt people, if you commit violence or terrorize others, I'm going to stop you." He lashes out fast, tripping and knocking Butch to the ground, pulling out his sticks and knocking Butch's guards out while Spider-Man deals with the others. "It's you!" Butch snaps as he gets to his feet, realizing that he is dealing with Daredevil. Matt nods as he pulls on his mask. "It is. And if you act like your father in any way, we'll destroy you," Daredevil says as he and Spidey walk away. A short while later, the two of them are sitting on a rooftop, with Matt pulling on the rest of his Daredevil costume. He knows that New York is safe in the hands of his friend, but doesn't want to leave the city without Spider-Man remembering who he is. Spidey comments on Daredevil's amazing Matt Murdock disguise, having forgotten Daredevil's real identity after Purple Man's kids made everyone forget. And Matt looks at him. "It wasn't a disguise, Spidey. I'm Matt Murdock, and my brother Mike, he's the one that was killed by Fisk," Matt explains, and Spidey stares at him for a moment, and then Matt watches as Purple Children's powers wear off of him. Spidey remembers his and Daredevil's history now. They embrace, and Spidey promises to protect the city while Daredevil is gone. So the two head out, patrolling the city, stopping crime, fighting mobsters. Elsewhere, though, a strange man has stopped at a coffee shop. He needs to hold up the line, make the man behind him irritated and late for work. That morning, Spidey bids Daredevil farewell, heading into the city, but Matt realizes that he is late to say goodbye to Kristen before she leaves. He begins to leap across the rooftops, hoping to make it to the train station in time. But that irritated man, the one that was at the coffee shop, he steps out. Someone bumps into him, spilling his coffee. "Watch where you're going, you loser!" He snaps at the old man, unaware that the man has had enough. He brought a gun to work that day to use on his boss. Daredevil hears the gunshot. He leaps down. He slams into the man, driving him into the pavement. He moves fast, way too quick for the man, trying to reach the victim before he dies, but there is nothing that he can do. Matt feels terrible as he leaps away, but he tries to reach the train station, and he lands on the platform as it's pulling away, too late to reveal his feelings. He reminds Kristen that he is Matt Murdock to allow her to remember their history together. He then falls to his knees as he questions why these things are always happening to him. "Are you okay?" a voice calls from behind, and Daredevil turns, recognizing Robert Goldman, an old friend from law school. Daredevil gets to his feet. "I'm fine, Mr. Goldman. Just missed my train." Daredevil sighs. Goldie smiles, telling Daredevil that it doesn't take much to be late. "Next thing you know, she's gone," he says as he stares after the train, and Daredevil turns to him in shock, but Goldie just smiles wider. "It feels like bad things always happen to you, don't they? But a bit more heartbreak is worth it, isn't it, Matt?" Goldie asks. He holds up his arms and he begins to glow, revealing his true nature to Matt Murdock for the first time. "I'm so sorry. I know this is horrible for you. But I've waited years to tell you this. Things have changed. I know I have to be more direct now. I'm your guardian angel, Matt," Goldie says, and Matt realizes that he can see him through his auditory sensors. "But I'm not hers," Goldie says, and behind them, the train that pulled away suddenly explodes in a massive fireball as the Daredevil whirls around in shock. He falls to his knees, looking at the explosion in the distance, and behind him, Goldie explains that these powers first began to manifest when he was a child, that he could sense what needed to happen, so he should create the outcome. Matt looks at him in shock as Goldie stops glowing. "I did so much. Little things that led to big things, that leads to the city's savior, Daredevil," he says before turning and leaping from the raised train station. Matt leaps down to pursue him, but loses Goldie in the streets. Matt looks up in shock as another explosion rips the track above him, and another train falls off the streets. Matt turns, quickly leaping out of the way, pushing an old woman out of danger in the process. He turns back to the destruction behind him, and even with all of that noise, he can hear someone's heartbeat. He rushes back inside, finding someone trapped in the train cars, and Daredevil helps get the man to safety. But the crash shifts, and a secondary explosion rips through everything, debris beginning to fall, pinning Matt to the concrete, crushing his ribs. He gasps for air, trying to push the beam off, and he looks up as Goldie approaches. "I don't know how this power works, but I just know what to do. For the greater good," Goldie explains, telling Matt that it just took pointing someone to the library for a man to look up how to create a bomb, which he could then use on the train that he takes to work, for this moment to happen. He detonated it on the train, and now your friend is dead. Her death will create a ripple, one that will reforge you into a greater hero, and you'll save countless lives. A handful of deaths did that, Matt. You are a hero," Goldie says, leaning down, explaining that he always has known what Matt can become. Ever since they first met in law school, Goldie saw it and made it happen, pushing Matt in the right direction. "Goldie, whatever's going on, whatever's happening to you, I can help," Matt coughs. Goldie smiles, proud that Matt is still trying to be a hero. But a rock flies out, hitting him in the side of the head, and he turns to see several people approaching, who ordered him to stay away from Daredevil. "No problem. I have places to be," he says, walking away, and the citizens help Daredevil get up, telling him that he is a godsend to the city and that it's their honor to help him. Finally, Daredevil struggles to his feet. "That man, he did this. He needs to be stopped," Daredevil coughs to them, and the trio nod. "Go kick his ass," one of them says, and the rain begins to pelt from the sky as Matt leaps away, following Goldie to the nearby construction site. It's there that he finds his old friend waiting for him at one of the higher floors, but before he can act, the construction workers return from lunch and begin to work. Their equipment causes vibrations and noise that stuns Matt's senses. He finally manages to look up just in time to see Goldie step backwards off the construction site. "We're friends, Matt. I'm not here to kill you, or myself." "God isn't done with us yet," Goldie calls out, and Matt can sense that Goldie's jacket catches on a swinging crane, which slows his fall and allows him to land on another beam. Matt follows him quickly, knocking Goldie down with one punch and pinning him to the ground. What do you want from me? Why kill Kirsten? Of all people, he bellows. But Goldie just smiles. That's what I keep telling him. I just know what should happen. The train exploding will make you a better hero. You just need to have faith, Goldie says, and the rain pelts down on them harder. Goldie tells Daredevil that the pain in his life will make him the hero that he is today, but he still has a ways to go. It feels so good to tell you the truth, Goldie whispers, but he kicks up into Matt, knocking the hero away, and he manages to get to his feet, backing away onto the beam. The city is bright and far below him, and Goldie reaches the end as Matt moves to stop him. God is good. Bad things happen. I know this in my bones. I live it and understand it in a way that you can't even imagine, but he's ultimately merciful. Maybe Kirsten isn't dead after all, Goldie says as he steps back and begins to fall. Matt rushes forward to the edge, but he's lost Goldie. His senses dulled by the light and the sounds of the city mixed with the rain. But Matt is on his feet again. He moves quickly, leaping back across the rooftops, returning to the train station, and there in the crowd of confused onlookers, he stares at the destruction and finds Kirsten. The Red suddenly stops, and the woman that Matt loves looks at him. You're late, Red, she says softly, as she pulls him into an embrace, and they hug, as she says that the train has pulled away for maintenance. And then it exploded. Matt shakes his head, explaining that he loves her, and she smiles, pointing out that they should probably take things slow. But at that moment, Matt realizes that he can't tell her who he is. He can't bring back her memories of their past because he has to leave and it wouldn't be fair. He has to join Elektra in her fight against the Hand. He has to marry Elektra to become the leader of the Fist. Elsewhere in the city, Goldie steps into the police precinct, offering to turn himself in for the train bombing. As the police move towards him, he smiles and begins to glow. But just a heads up, I'm going to need a special prison. It's where I need to be. For him, Goldie tells them. And that concludes issues 1 and 2 of this new Daredevil run. So we're about to go into Daredevil, King of the Fist. If you want to know what's going on, like and subscribe, and don't forget, this story is to be continued.